Hello and welcome to tutorial 138 in this series of tutorials and programs on the subject of TradeStation Easy Language. And if you're not part of our email list, then please go to markplex.com. That's markplex.com and sign up there. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. So in this tutorial, what we're going to be doing is calculating and plotting a stochastic and a smooth stochastic for a higher time frame on a smaller time frame chart. So for example, we're going to be calculating the stochastic for a 15-minute chart and plot that on a 5-minute, and we're going to be doing that using the price series provider. So what I've done also is create a little test program on the 15-minute chart, and this just plots the standard stochastic. And if we just look at that program, you'll see same calculation as you'd find in the TradeStation function, for instance, using the exponential moving average. And what we're going to do is use that calculation using a 15-minute price series provider and plot it on a 5-minute chart. Oh, and you can just see here, if you look at the price values, that they are the same. And one of the big challenges with this is that the price on a chart and the price series provider are not synchronized, and that can create some issues. So let's go ahead and create the program. Incidentally, it's not applicable to multi-charts users, unfortunately. We're going to be using a price series provider. I've got one there, but I'll just go through that again. Go to Toolbox, price series provider, then that's selected, go to properties, and we can then just go through these and change any that we need to. Real time, time zone, we're going to be changing the code in the program. We want this to load. We're going to change the name to PSP. Interval, that can just stay as standard. The range, we want that based on the first date. So what we could do is just put in a dummy date like so. And then one thing we do need is a update event. So we're just going to go here and then just going to double click, and you'll see that that's added to our program. So what we can do now is go to the designer generated code, and we can cut and paste or copy and paste the code and put it in the program that we're developing. And now we can do some work on this area here of the program. Now what we're going to need to run this when the program first runs, so I'm going to change that to once. I'm going to be having various namespaces, so I'm just going to cut that out. I'm going to come up to the top of the program, and I'm going to say using, and that's one of the namespaces that we need. And once we've done that, we can remove this area from in front of the declaration of that PSP. The time span, this is something that we want to have as an input, so I'm just going to name that bar span, and then at the top of the program in the inputs, just going to put that in and make it say 14 as a default. And what we need to do, because we don't want this date that I just put in, we needed to actually use the date time of when this is first running on the chart, which is going to pick it up from the chart from the first time it runs. Remember, it goes through the chart bar by bar by bar. So on the first bar, when this thing runs, then we're going to get whatever the date is then, just to make sure that we have enough data on our chart. Let me just check we're okay so far. Okay, we've got a colon there which we don't need. Now we're getting that because we've still got the designer generated code. Now we've copied it into the program, we can delete that. So I can just say, and then the methods need to be at the top of the program. This is the update event, so I'm just going to go above the one statement. And what we're going to be doing with this event is this is where we're going to be calculating the real-time stochastic. And now that we've got that EL system, I can just get rid of that just to tidy things up a little bit. Now one thing that we've made this PSP do so far is this thing here using time zone local. Now we don't want that, we want it to pick up whatever the time zone is for the chart. So I've got some code that I've already written that you might like to copy somewhere so that you can reuse this over and over again. So what we can now do is start working on the event, which happens every time the price series provider is updated. We're going to be using the standard calculation for the stochastic, which will look very similar to the one that I just showed you in the test program. But what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to copy in all the variables and inputs that we're going to be using in these programs, and also the calculation. So very similar calculation. We are checking here that the PSP count is greater or equal to the stock length plus 1. And if we compare that calculation with the one that we've got in the tester program, you'll see that it's quite similar. Now, instead of using price, though, what we're using here is the PSP. And to get a PSP series, we have PSP.low, PSP.high. So we're finding the lowest low of the last so many stock length bars of the PSP, the highest high of the last stock length bars, and then we're creating this numerator num1 by taking the close of the current bar, the close of the bar that's happening at the moment, minus LL, and then the denominator HH minus low low, and then the calculation is simply the numerator over the denominator multiplied by 100, making sure that the denominator is over 0. If it's not, then fastk is set to 0. And then the other thing that we need to do is we need to plot the value. So what I've found is that it's best to not plot on the first tick of the PSP bar, and we can check that by saying if args dot, and then we need reason is not equal to 1, which means that it's not the first tick, then begin and end, and then we're just going to plot the fastk here. Like so. What I'm going to do is just turn off that autocomplete, because it sometimes a little annoying, and verify. Okay, so that's doing the real time. What we now have to do is create essentially the same thing, but for the historic bars. Okay, so we're now going below the one statement, and what we're going to say is this. So we're saying that the time of the PSP bar, if it has changed from the last time, and this is a historic bar, that's what this is saying, then essentially we've got the identical calculation as we have above, and you can see the fastk being calculated. We don't need this print statement. I probably may talk about that later. And then what we do as this runs, so remember it's different time from the last bar and historic bar, it's not a live bar, so we keep a record of the time last, and that will then help us to detect when the bar changes again. So if we go to the inputs, or rather the variables, you'll see that time last is actually a date time. Just going to see if that works. Very good. And then we just need to plot that fastk. So again, plot 1 underscore fastk. Close brackets and verify. And then we can go to our chart. Now what I've done is I've already got this applied to the chart, but format, analysis techniques, turn that on. Okay, there they are, the inputs. And okay, it's saying the symbol property was not provided, so what we need to do is just go to where we're creating our PSP, and that can simply be added by just this code psp.symbol, and then symbol would be the symbol of the chart. So let's try that again and go to the chart and format, analysis techniques, and turn that on and see what we've got. Okay, so that looks pretty similar to the other one. I haven't done any of the coloring, and you can see that this has been running with live data, so the shape is slightly different, but that's to be expected. So far so good. What we're going to do in the next video is we're going to do an exponential moving average of the stochastic to slow it down to become a fast D, and we're going to plot that as well. So thank you very much. Again, if you're not part of our email list, then go to markplex.com and also subscribe to this YouTube channel.